All right, so we're here with 2010 first round pick by the Boston Red Sox and former top 100 prospect Anthony Ranaudo, who pitched in the big leagues for a few seasons and is now the host of the show Up and In with former LSU teammate Jared Mitchell. Anthony, thanks for taking the time to talk more about what you got going on, man. How you doing?
Absolutely, man. No, thank you for having me. Everything's good. Happy to catch up with you.
Absolutely. So let's start with Up and In because I actually just discovered it the other day, but seems like you've been doing this for a few months now. So what's Up and In all about?
Yeah, I stopped playing ball about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago in 2017. I was kind of lost of what I wanted to do next. I was doing some lessons with kids in town, and a lot of them were asking me questions on the mental side of things or experience side or, asking them to tell them some stories and stuff. So I was like,
Right.
what's a way that I can kind of reach more kids and do this more often, and obviously a podcast was a way to do it. I was
For
like,
sure.
I can interview people around the game and do different things and use my network to kind of ask questions that kids are asking me and give them real world, responses, and then create a show out of it. And I was like, then the marketing side of it and then the networking and building relationships was the really fun part for me. And that's kind of how it evolved into like the show that it is now.
Gotcha. Yeah, that sounds really exciting. Kind of what direction do you see it going in?
Long term, I really want to keep doing this, and that's why I kind of like it's a play on words. Up and in. I always struggled with the up and in fastball. I was always missing up and arm side, but I really like the phrase like for the up and in the minds of like the people that are doing great things around there. Obviously, it's going to start with sport, but I really want it to evolve into business, entertainment, and maybe even music or different things if I can keep networking and building relationships. But basically, asking people what different things they've went through, what lessons they've learned, and advice they might have for people up and coming or the next generation or people that are going through similar type things.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I watched the episode where you had the founder of the Positive Vibe movement on, and it
Yeah.
seemed like you might be involved in that as well. Could you talk a little bit more about that? It sounds really interesting.
Yeah. So Matt and I hit it off. We didn't really know each other. It's a funny story, man. Like, it's interesting how things work out when you kind of put your mind to them and really and create your own vision. About a year and a half ago, I was planning this podcast, and I started thinking of like down the line of sponsorships and different things. And I always liked the brand and what he stood for, and that he was always giving back proceeds to mental health because I think mental health is really, really important. I think a lot of people don't speak about that issue because of the stigma surrounding it,
Yeah.
and you don't want to be looked at as a loose cannon or whatever it is, that
Right.
people.
Right.
But yeah, so I honestly just like messaged him and was like, man, love the brand. I would love to, collaborate somehow. I'd love to even have you on my show. And he just randomly, he was like, dude, I never answered DMs like this, but I was just like, oh, by the way, I'm Matt Bonnick. I played baseball before, so absolutely, bro, I'd love to hook you up. And I was like, all right, dude, why don't you come down for a podcast? I'll show you around LSU. If you play college baseball, you're probably like looking at the stadium. Marucci, we hit it off. It was a great vibe. And then we had a great interview for an hour and whatever. And he came out and talked about some things that he said he had never spoke about publicly before.
Yeah.
And one thing led to another, and it was just a great vibe. And we're hopefully going to do some things and collaborate together going forward.
That's awesome. So you like just met him a few months ago when you did the podcast.
Yeah. So him and I, like I said, had a few conversations and DM and then text messages, just getting to know each other a little bit. And then I was like, man, let's do this. Let's hop on a plane. I'll fly you down here. And I flew him down, showed him around for 2 days, and then he got out of town. And it was just, it was a good vibe. And then, like, hopefully, like I said, I might be involved. I like investing in small business. I like helping people that are telling a good story and get some, behind something that's meaningful. So at the end of the year, we'll see what happens. We're going to do some crossover collaborations and see if I can add any value to his company.
Okay, got you. Yeah, I mean the chemistry you guys had. It seemed like you guys were like good friends off the show and everything. So that's interesting.
Yeah, that's why. Like I said, we hung out for like a day before the interview just to like get to know each other. But it was a good match, and we have similar interests. We both grew up in the Northeast, so we think similarly, and we're both kind of have that same energy and drive. So we'll see how it goes.
Gotcha. Well, for anyone listening to this and ends up watching that episode, they seem like they're boys since from back in the day. But let's get into the baseball side of things. So, what did you enjoy most about playing the game of baseball?
Well, it's something that I always enjoyed growing up. I was just always passionate about it. I was a Yankee fan growing up, so I was a Derek Jeter fan. And he just kind of played the game the right way as far as the way he carried himself. He was a good leader on and off the field, and that kind of spoke out to me. And that's something that I was always chasing, being that kind of person and using baseball as a platform to meet other people and do other things and make a difference. And then when I got into it, I really just liked the mental side of the game. Baseball is a real mentally challenging game because it's a game of failure. So you got to kind of keep a strong mind. You got to learn from your mistakes. Otherwise, you're going to quickly find out that you're out of the game, So I think that side of things presented something that was a challenge to me, and that was always something that I was chasing. So I enjoyed that side of it when I got into professional baseball. And then just the people, the atmosphere, and the competitive nature of it was something that I was always attracted to.
Got you. Yeah, I mean, other than the obvious of like earning a lot of money, it sounds like there were a lot of other great things that happened from playing baseball. But while you were at LSU, you were honestly one of the best pitchers in the nation. Helped LSU win a national championship. That led to the Red Sox drafting you in the first round, and then you were also ranked a prestigious top 100 prospect. What do you credit the biggest reason for your success? Was it whether it was a signature curveball or how you attacked batters with two strikes? Obviously, it wasn't going up and in, but what would you say that would be?
Well, first and foremost, probably be my dad. First of all, like before I even get onto the on-field stuff, my dad just kind of made me the man that I am today. I kind of watched him be an entrepreneur for 25 years and grind each and every day. So my work ethic was kind of instilled in me at a young age. And he was building an insurance company, and he would go all day and then come home and work all night and go out to extra meetings and stuff like that. And that kind of just gave me the ability to work my ass off. Honestly, sorry to curse, but
no, you're fine, man. I can relate to that heavy, and fuck the cursing. That shit straight.
Hell yeah. And so I was always just kind of took that approach. I was always working hard, and that's one of the things that I think people would say about me, that I was professional and that I was probably the hardest working guy on the team. And that gave me that little bit of competitive edge, and that's what I think I took out onto the field was my competitiveness. I would go out there and I felt like I was more prepared than you, and I would tell you about it, and I would kind of exude that confidence, And especially at LSU, they kind of embraced that. It was a true win now atmosphere. So it was like, dude, if you're not bringing that competitive edge, you're off the field. So I kind of embraced that. Being from New Jersey, down here, the Southern boys are they talk differently. So it was nice bringing that like kind of Jersey edge and Northeast edge up here, where I was cursing, talking fast, and bringing that energy and competitiveness, and that kind of like sparked a lot of guys, and I love that. I fed off of that. So that was one of the things that I always say. And then my fastball curveball combo always helped me from the physical standpoint of actually being on the field. I always felt like I had a good combo there, being able to elevate my fastball up and then drop that curveball down low.
Got you. So the fastball curveball combo was really what worked for you. And I learned watching your show that it was LSU, obviously, for those who don't know, one of the most prestigious programs in baseball. Almost some would consider the Alabama of college baseball. And I learned from watching your show that even in fall ball, if you're not playing your A game, if you're not bringing your A game in fall ball practices, you're not going to get on the field in the spring. So that's what really stuck out to me of how LSU kind of forms the environment that is what's causing them to be this, great program in baseball and everything. But you said that you were very more prepared than almost any other player. Could you talk more about that? Was that from scouting or how you would attack certain hitters or using sabermetrics, or kind of what went into that?
If we had sabermetrics when I was playing, I definitely would have used them, but we didn't. I mean, towards the end of my career, we kind of had some, but I was, like you said, it was the physical hard work. I just knew I was outworking everybody, so it was a little bit of that edge on the field. Like when I was standing on the mound, I knew I worked harder than that batter. Like I felt it in my body, so it was just that little extra bit of confidence that I think makes that separator in baseball. Mm-hmm. And then I really was kind of a student off the field as well. When I was in college, I was always writing down notes after I pitched a game, whether that was what I felt like physically, what was working for me, whether it was a mental cue that I took in that game, or if it was actual notes, about certain hitters or an approach that they had against me. So that way, if I faced them later in the year, the next year, whatever it was, I had my information. And I used that even the guys in college. I used it against them in pro ball. I remember 2 or 3 years later facing guys, and I still had some notes on them.
That's awesome.
So I kind of took some pride in that and kind of learning and becoming a student of the game.
So would you consider yourself probably more successful that second or third time you face a guy?
Yeah, I think so. And like I said, and a lot of it comes from the confidence of just being like, I have faced you. I do have my notes. Right. And that little bit of edge that just like gave me that ability to attack guys differently.
I got you. A student on the field.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to be.
So a lot of people listening may not really understand all the time it takes and everything that really goes into becoming a big league pitcher. Could you describe kind of that feeling of when you first got called up, or the first major league game, or kind of that moment?
Yeah, it was pretty surreal for me too, because like I said, I grew up in Jersey. I was a Yankee fan, so I was playing with the Red Sox organization, and I made my debut against the Yankees. So I found out on a Thursday night that I was going up on a Friday night to go pitch at Fenway against the Yankees. So it was pretty cool to have my debut against them. Derek Jeter was my first out and my first strikeout of
awesome.
my career, so that was pretty cool. Like I said, he was my idol growing up. So that kind of stuff was fun. A bunch of my family from Jersey came up to Boston. It was only like a 5-hour trip. It was pretty surreal to have that moment, and then pitching in Yankee Stadium. It does. There's a lot of things that go through your mind, and I remember getting pretty emotional. Like I said, my dad's a big influence in my life, and I remember making that phone call and just like telling him like, we did it, dude. And I still get emotional to this day because it's just like looking back in your life, a lot of things happen and have to happen accordingly, in time. And it's pretty crazy just to see like how your work comes to fruition, and then that moment of reality when it happens, especially against the New York Yankees on a Friday night. I was just like, how does this add up like this? Like, and I think I really do believe too, like the way you live your life, the way you treat people, and good things happen to the people that it's supposed to happen. So I'm not saying I was a great person, but I do think that I've lived my life and worked hard, and I've earned those moments, little moments like that. And it was really nice to enjoy that with my family and a lot of my friends that came up.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest influences in my life, probably the person I look up to the most, is a guy named Gary Vaynerchuk, and he always says doing the right thing is always the right thing. So definitely can respect that a lot. But you grew up a Yankees fan, got drafted by the Red Sox, developed in the Red Sox system. Kind of what was that dynamic like, obviously knowing that they're bitter rivals, probably the biggest rivalry in sports maybe. Could you just talk more about that kind of dynamic?
Yeah, it was, it was a weird thing because the Yankees were good that year and we were absolutely terrible. So it was kind of like I missed that rivalry, but it was still, you felt it, like it's still Friday night at Fenway, and the Yankees are coming in. There was like 4 Hall of Famers or 5 Hall of Famers in the lineup. So it was pretty cool. And then like I said, there was a different energy around the stadium. I didn't know it because it was my first game, and so all the energy felt normal, like crazy to me.
Right.
After the subsequent games after that, you realize like it's not always, it's not the same as it was that first weekend or that first game or whatever with the Yankees Red Sox. So then we went to Yankee Stadium and played them at Yankee Stadium. That was pretty dope. It was, I don't want to say it was a dope ending, but because they hit a walk-off homer, but it was just crazy to feel the difference, you know what I'm saying? Because I felt like they were like, it was like vicious. All the fans were like, no, you guys deserve it. It was just different,
Right.
And it was fun being a part of that rivalry and one of the best in all of sports. It was pretty crazy. And then Jeter's last game was at Fenway, so I was there for Jeter's last game.
As a fan or like as a player?
As a player, ever, yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, it was, I was playing, against him, in 2014.
Okay.
And it was his last game. So
Did you pitch that game?
No, I didn't pitch that game, no. But we went up. We did like a pregame ceremony for him. We went up and shook his hand on the field, and like everybody took a picture out there with him. We gave him a piece of the scoreboard. It was pretty cool. It was a good surreal experience.
That's awesome. You had to have been in the bullpen, like kind of acting like you don't want him to be successful, but like, I hope he does hit like a nice hit and everything.
Dude, well, I was a starter at the time, so I was in the dugout watching, and all the guys in the dugout were all saying the same thing. They were like, we hope he gets a hit. And then he hit like this baby chopper or whatever that like Buckles couldn't field or something. It was his last hit and they pulled him out of the game. I was like, that's awesome. Or Joe Kelly or somebody super athletic that was normally would have made that play, but then it's Jeter, of course. And
maybe subconsciously, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's funny, man. So I saw that you had Mikey Motzuk and Kevin Gausman and some other big leaguers on the show. Do you still have a relationship with a lot of MLB players?
Yeah, and that gave me the confidence to kind of start the show. Was a lot of guys go about things differently. I'm not talking bad, but I was always interested in everybody's story. When I was playing, I was a clubhouse guy. I would go try to have conversations with people. Maybe not as much my last year or two because I was a little bit in my head of being traded and being on different teams and stuff like that. But I always enjoyed that. So I have a lot of good professional relationships with people around the game. So I do have good relationships with guys. And in baseball, it's like you're a it's a fraternity. You got a brotherhood a little bit. So yeah, Will Harris was more than happy to come on the show. Gausman's going to be my next door neighbor in Baton Rouge. He went to LSU. I had him on his visit. Mikey's one of my best friends. We went to college together, and I have countless guys throughout the league that schedule this offseason that come down and watch an LSU football game. That's the other thing is I try to take care of them when they come to LSU if they're coming from out of town.
Be a gracious host and everything.
Yeah. So I try to take care of people and treat people the right way. And like you said, like Gary Vee says, like you treat people the right way, you're kind, and people reciprocate towards that.
Exactly. I mean, I'm sure it would be hard for anyone to pass up a trip to Death Valley, So
yeah, exactly.
I mean, other than them, there's a lot of star players from LSU. You got Aaron Nola, Alex Bregman, DJ LeMahieu. Do you have a favorite player you like to watch nowadays?
DJ is one of my best friends. Him and I was in his wedding. Him and I were college roommates, so of course I think I'm biased. DJ's my guy.
Right.
I go
He's having a hell of a
him.
year too.
No, that's crazy, dude. I mean, I knew when he got traded or when he signed with the Yankees, that was going to be a great move for him. He's always kind of he hits the right side of the field and with that short porch.
Right.
I didn't expect. I'm dead ass serious. I didn't think he was going to hit 25 homers or 30 homers wherever he's going to be at this year. But
he got his career high with like a month ago.
I know. So I didn't expect that, but I thought he was going to have a good year this year, just with the right field gap and everything, and have a lot more extra base hits. So I'm just tremendously happy for him. He's such a great human being. He's so quiet, just does his job and enjoys baseball. And everybody knew DJ was going to be that, this good, but I don't know if everybody thought it was going to be that good, So that's fun.
Yeah. I mean, one of the many Yankees kind of having a hell of a year that not many people probably saw coming.
Exactly.
Who's your pick really for winning it all this year?
I kind of like the Yankees. I really do. I don't know if they got the starting pitching or the depth.
Right.
And maybe I'm a little biased. I want them to win, but I kind of like the momentum that they have. And baseball's about momentum. If they can get hot and get a couple of their guys right at the end, they have a great bullpen. I really like their team. I also like the Dodgers too. I kind of pull for Kershaw. I love the way that I love the way that he competes, and I just feel so bad that he's had the luck that he has in the playoffs, or the way he's performed in the playoffs, however you want to do it. But
the results that have happened, in the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah, as one of the greatest, I just want to see him get a World Series. Like, I really do think that what he's done on the field is just stupid. So I want to see him get a ring. I think that would be really cool if the Dodgers win it too. So Dodgers Yankees is what I'm pulling for the World Series.
Yeah, I mean that would sell a lot of tickets and
LA, New York,
be great for the ratings. I mean, I don't see anyone really competing with the Dodgers in the National League. Maybe the Braves I see as like kind of a dark horse, but I think Dodgers will probably definitely make a third straight. And then on the AL, obviously you had the clash of the two powerhouses pretty much in the Yankees and Astros. Here, haven't really talked much about PSO, but like basically just started a couple months ago, just launched, and basically we're trying to be the front office for fans and kind of bring that insight into player values and how these players' performances on the field are affecting their team, and not really focus on like the clickbait news and kind of rumors and everything that you see on these other sites. And obviously a big part of that is like ranking teams and ranking players and so forth. And going into the season, we had the Yankees as the World Series favorite.
Nice.
So it's looking pretty good. Like you said, I mean, the starting pitching is kind of cause for concern. They didn't really make any additions at the deadline, and Severino still hasn't come back healthy. So I mean, we'll see how that plays out. It'll be interesting, but just wanted to ask you. Nowadays, we're seeing like the ball has gotten a lot of controversy about how it's affecting home runs and offense and everything. Are you kind of glad that you're no longer pitching?
No, I was a fly ball pitcher, so yes, absolutely. I feel like I would have been one of those guys that the balls would have made a big difference for. I probably would have given up a few more bolts, but we'll see. I mean, I still kind of want to play again. I have an opportunity to be with the World Baseball Classic next year, be with Team Italy in the World Baseball Classic. So,
like play?
Yeah, like play. Yeah.
Okay, so, Ranaudo comeback. You heard it here first.
I've been training a little bit, so we'll see what happens. I've been throwing better than I had like the last 2 years that I pitched. My velocity was only up to like 92, 91, 92 my last years, and I'm like sitting 93, 94 in bullpens right now.
Wow,
so I made
those up to mid-90s, okay.
Yeah, so I made some adjustments with my arm action and some of my lower half mechanics. So we'll see. If I'm throwing 95 with the World Baseball Classic, I might give it another shot over here in the States and see if I can't play for another year or two. So
I love it. And I mean, you're still young. Like, you definitely could have a career. Do you have any like regrets looking back at your career?
No, I don't have any regrets, honestly. I wish I don't want to call it a regret because I think you have to go through stuff to understand it, and actually feel it and actually be in the moment. So I do have a regret of not being as outgoing as I could have been when I got traded to the Rangers, and that kind of affected my mental health, and I think that ultimately affected my performance. So I wish I would have just been a little bit more skilled in the social, area as far as when I got traded. But it was a part of my life that I had to go through. It's one of those things. So that's really the only thing. I know, like I said, I busted my ass every single day, so I can put my head on the pillow and know that I gave it everything I had. But I would say the willingness to change, like I said, whether that was personality or maybe some of my physical attributes, would probably be my biggest regrets if I had any. But I don't really like using the word regret. I'd say a learning experience.
I got you. And sounds like you got things going in the right direction with Up and In, and very excited for your post career. Do you have anything you'd like to leave with the listeners?
No. I mean, if they want to check out the show, that would be awesome. It's at upandin.show on Instagram. There's a couple other ways to find it. It's on all major audio platforms. If they want to go check it out, I think it's pretty valuable. I'm sure you got some sports fans that are listening. So we interview athletes, other people around the game. Yeah, that's it. But no, absolutely. I appreciate you having us on and having me on. And hopefully, as we each one of us grows, we'll catch up again and do another one. It'll be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, this is kind of just the beginning for us, and you're only still 6 months in. So, I mean, looking forward to a bright future for both of us.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I'm happy we jumped on here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, Anthony. Thank you, man. Really appreciate it.